It's Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. It's 2 p.m. We're in the Ocean Shores Library on Point Brown Avenue in Ocean Shores. Roll call. Commissioner Bees?
Here.
Mr. Bricker?
Here.
Mr. Johnston?
Here.
Mr. Kern?
Here.
Mr. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Lawless is here. Commissioner Ward is absent. So may I have a motion to approve Commissioner Ward's absence, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll be the second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve our meeting agenda?
I move that we approve our meeting agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The approval of minutes of the regular City of Ocean Shores Planning Commission meeting on 22 April. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll open up to public communications. Gentlemen, anything to say today? Okay, ladies, anything more that you'd like to say?
Hi,
Just good
Jan.
afternoon.
Oh, sorry, Jane. Go ahead.
Just good afternoon. That's it. Thank you.
Come on. Hi, Jane.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
VDPR has no comments. at
No
this
comment.
time.
Jane, anything?
No, nothing. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, in old business, we've been working on roofing and metal fasteners. Ocean Shores Municipal Code 17.50.210. I sent that out to you in between meetings after Marshall and I had a meeting to come up with final wording for today. Did you have a chance to look at that? And is there any comment? I see Marshall's not here at the moment. I'm sure he's running in his roller skates late. He'll be here, I'm sure. Any comments about the wording? On roofing materials? Or metal fasteners? No? Okay.
Well, I thought changes were fine.
Okay, so. I'll wait, on H3. We had approved that back in February. And H4, we had approved that back in February as well. We have added one sentence to H4 though, that I would like to read. Roofing and fasteners must have a manufacturer's guarantee of at least 20 years in compliance with Ocean Shores Municipal Code 17.26.060D. Does anyone have a problem with that, or can we approve it as written? Do I have a motion to approve it as written?
So moved.
Amended. Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then we'll come back to that when Marshall arrives and see if he's got any further comment on that particular issue. The next item is an update Ocean Shores Municipal Code 17.50.115, Section E, which is non-accessory structures, standards and applications. We've added some words to Section E. It now reads, the exterior wall surface of non-accessory sheds shall be constructed of non-metallic wood-like appearance, wood, vinyl, and or resin. Anyone have an issue with that wording in 17.50.115? If not, may I have a motion to approve that as written?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is trapping in Oshie trails. And I'll pass the baton to Dan for that.
Okay, I'm sure all of you guys read it. So I'll open it up for comments. This is kind of my final draft for this. So any comments? Anything you don't like, think we need to change?
Basically, what we did is we just mirrored basically the state and then made the changes that affected us.
A lot of it is mirrored the state.
Okay, but you know, that was our main.
The goal, yeah. So as Scott Harris was here before,
Right.
and of course, ours is none whatsoever, and the state has their, it can be done. The problem that we faced is Dan did a miraculous job on this, is we put in place a process in which citizens who have an issue can go forward to remedy their issue. And before, there was, as a property owner, you couldn't do anything because the code prohibited it. Just as we heard from property owners who said they had commissioned a licensed person to come in and eradicate whatever their issue was, but they couldn't do it because the municipal code says none whatsoever. And so what we've tried to do, and it's done wonderfully with this, is there's a process here where citizens can appeal to the wildlife officer or animal control, who can then call Department of Fish and Wildlife, who then can take it the next step, all at the expense of the homeowner, not the city. And so there's a couple of steps. There's a couple of different eyes that will be on the process. So it'll protect the citizens that they have an out. It'll protect the city because there's a process. And so, yeah, I like the way you wrote it, Dan.
I think he did a good job also.
I think it's a fair. This is more restrictive than the state.
Yeah,
The state one says the property owner can go trap them. Yeah,
Right.
and no, we don't want to do that.
No, but for obvious reasons,
Yeah,
but several reasons, we don't want anyone to get in over their head trying to trap animals and then get hurt trying to do it. So
And all liability falls with the property owners.
property owner. Yeah. Any comments at all? Okay, do I have a motion to approve this and send it to city council as written? So moved. Second,
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Any topics open for discussion now? Steve, you kind of
Yes.
stated that you have something.
So, I'm sure everyone's familiar with those, boardwalk condos, those multicolored buildings.
Yes,
My wife owns one of those. And, she shares a problem with the rest of the tenants, which is, they're constantly being, the owners or operators are, constantly being approached by customers or people off the street asking if they can use their restrooms. The issue is for the property owners is, those are relatively small spaces. So the restrooms are filled with stuff, that they ordered and was delivered, but hasn't been put on the shelves yet. So there's almost no room in any of those. She also noticed that there is a porta potty in that that mall where the liquor store is. That's how I identify it. Does anyone know whether that was provided by the town or whether
On the backside of them, there by where the train stations are at,
whether what?
behind that little strip mall where the liquor store is at, behind there.
No, it's actually right in the parking lot,
Oh, is it?
closest to the street. The
Yeah, personally, I don't know who
Yeah,
is
I-
funding that.
Yeah, I could ask, if anyone there knows. I'm sure everyone is also familiar with the arcade that has that go-kart track. They've asked the owners of those condos that I was just referring to, those multicolored condos, if they would please quit sending people over there to use their restroom. They have multiple restrooms, but they want to reserve them, understandably enough, for their customers. So I guess the larger question is, it seems like the dearth of restrooms on that main drag is a problem for tourists and for people who own businesses there. I'm wondering if the town would be willing to consider providing additional restrooms for that area where it becomes really an issue, now this time of year and moving forward with the tourists. So it's an inconvenience for the property owners, and it's a real inconvenience for the tourists who have to go looking around for a restroom.
It's interesting, because in my mind, I'm playing through the scenario that you're laying out. And I think the closest public restroom is over by the Shiloh, over by the bus stop at the Shiloh. So that's interesting, yes. Well, if they're open, and then what is closer? I thought about the convention center as well, but I know the area by the Shiloh is open, 24/7.
It's been having problems because
Vandalism, and it may not be. It closes at night now? Okay,
Vandalism to the restroom?
yeah.
Is it inside the building or is it outside?
inside.
They were doing both.
Interesting. Well, any thoughts?
Well, I agree that there's a lack of restrooms, like the building where Harbor Bar is.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And Flying Cats, and I don't know what's on the other side. I think there's only one restroom in there, and the Harbor Bar really controls it. And before it was Harbor Bar, the people shut it off, so Flying Cats people couldn't use it. And so there is,
Yeah. And you're right, those retail spaces, I'm trying to think of where there is a restroom, and I'm coming up blank. So.
Does this,
Marshall?
does the city provide any like portable stuff for like large gatherings, like when, like 4th of July and events like that, where there's like tens of thousands of people in town and no restrooms?
I think they do. I don't know the details, but I believe that they do for the large events. But that's interesting. Is it something you'd like us to look into, or do you want to just take that to the public comment at city council? What would you like going forward?
Well, let me talk to some of the people who have restrooms and who are, having an issue with
Okay.
overcrowding. So I can get sort of a sense of,
Well, and it's a good time to be having this discussion with the summer tourism season coming.
yeah,
So, Marshall, we're talking about restrooms or lack thereof along the corridor for the retail spaces.
Yeah, I can tell you that when the convention center has a big event like Sand and Sawdust or whatever, they have a whole row of portable restrooms that they bring in for those types of events so that they don't, there's places for people to go, plus they have the restrooms inside.
right.
I don't know about non-sponsored events like 4th of July, if they line them up over by the parking lot behind the bowling alley here or have other areas that they would traditionally put those. But I know for things, events that they have at the convention center, they brought them in.
I would think that, excuse me,
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with him.
I know that we have discussed in the past in these meetings that that we would like to improve so to speak, and for tourism. And I realize that tourism is a big business, and I think it would be very upfront for us to approach, discuss it and whatever we end up doing or whatever we decide, because when you've got these tourists in here, all summer long, basically, it is a nightmare. And it will just make it more tourist friendly.
Sure. It would. Without looking
yeah.
into it.
Yeah, I understand, but I think it would be something to
Something-
pursue.
Yeah, I mean, it's May and tourist season is about to kick in, as we know. That's an interesting.
We're not alone. Similar issues. I mean, my wife and I vacationed just down at Cannon Beach a couple summers ago, and similar thing, big, huge crowds, and if you're looking around for a public restroom, you're looking around quite a bit because they're not like everywhere.
I mean, the city
Yeah.
has them provided at the beach entrances, right? But how many up and down the business corridor? Yeah,
That's the area that they seem to lack right now is, the city, I believe this year has taken over, maintenance and operation responsibilities for the Chance Alamere restrooms that are out there. But it's not centrally located, by the downtown core. It would be ideal to have another one somewhere in that middle of town, just for that.
and I'm not sure off the top of my head, the cost
Yeah.
of, what the porta potty or what the city pays for their porta potty contract. But I would think that you could identify a lack thereof.
Yeah.
Down the business corridor. Now, how do you
Yeah.
resolve it?
I'm not
That's,
sure whether, excuse me, allergies. Whether they're owned or you lease them, and then they do the regular maintenance on a schedule of some sort. I think it's probably the latter, but I don't know that for certain.
that'd be my guess.
The ones that we have at the beach approaches are leased, and
Leased.
then they have a weekly schedule. Where they come in and sanitize them.
Thank you.
Anything else as part of our discussion? Marshall, we talked really quickly about roofing and metal fasteners before you arrived.
I apologize.
No, that's okay. I was saying you were probably using your roller skates somewhere.
Headed from the mayor's office right into this.
I see, gotcha. So no one on the commission had any issues with the wording that we came up with in our telephonic meeting. Do you have anything further to add?
I just wanted to clarify one thing before we before we put this thing into a format and a recommendation to the council is, so basically, we've got the two different sections of metal. We're talking about metal roofing and we're talking about metal siding. In the metal siding code, we seem to have extended the allowance for siding on, we're referring to them as outbuildings and permitted accessory structures, with the limitation of the 50%. We limited the amount of the wall on the gazebos, canopies, and awnings to no more than 4 feet of the upper. But in J1, we seem to have put some language in there that makes me feel like it's okay to fully metal side a non-accessory or accessory structure. Under the last part, is it 1A? No. Wood or wood style insulated lap or architectural metal siding is required on primary structures and permitted accessory structures. Architectural ribbed or metal siding is permitted for outbuildings, unpermitted structures of less than 200 square feet, canopies, carports, boat covers over 200 square feet, and permitted accessory structures. I just wanted to make sure that that was the intent. If it is, then it's written well. If we wanted to prohibit metal siding on the accessory structures or anything less than 200 square feet, then I had a misunderstanding there when we wrote this. So. Comments from the group? We're okay with it? All right.
We are. Are we seeing a lot of 200 square foot
We're seeing a lot of
structures
sheds
that are metal?
Yeah, not metal sided, because we've prohibited metal siding in the residential zones, fairly effectively. That mostly what we're seeing is either concrete lap or hardy plank, that kind of stuff, or T111. A lot of T111. That's probably the majority of it. The two, between maybe some vinyl. But I think it will start if we permit it. We just haven't done that in the past, so.
So as written, we're comfortable taking this to council?
Yeah, let's put it all together in its final deal and then take a look at it, as long as it hasn't, we didn't. It's hard for me to read this with all the red and blue and black there and
Okay.
and whatnot. Once it's all written, we'll put it, either I can put it together, or you can put it together as you present it to council. And then we'll take a look at it, do one last read through and make sure we didn't miss something
You
obvious.
just want to be able to, we're all on the same page and we're interpreting the same way.
Yeah, exactly. And that there's not some sort of conflicting statement within the code that is gonna cause me grief at the counter.
Yeah.
So,
So, yeah, we had already approved as written
Yeah.
before you arrived, but,
oh, okay, perfect.
but we can go back and redo that.
Yeah.
if we want.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, if you guys are through it and you all, feel like everybody's on the same page and whatnot, I'll just, go through it one more time before it gets presented to council.
Yes.
And then just kind of give you looks like everything is in order and.
Yeah, if you see a red flag, let us know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to do one more red flag check. I was gonna try to get that done before the meeting today, write it out, just how it would look in ordinance form.
Right,
And just didn't have time to do it.
Yeah.
So.
exactly. Okay. Any other comments on that? Okay. Do you have anything for us, Marshall, on your liaison report going forward that we can be working on?
No, not at this point.
No? Okay.
I do. Roy and I talked about something, but I didn't write it down and get it on my agenda. So, It seemed to me like we had something, like a next thing for the planning commission to consider or whatever, so I'll talk to him again, or it'll come back up in our discussion, and then I'll kick that out to you.
Throw me a note and I'll
Yeah.
put it on the agenda for next time. We can kick it around, whatever it is.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, planning commission member reports. Anybody have anything to report? I just wanted, yes,
Before we move on from the metal side, I
Yes.
think one of the things that we were supposed to resolve in this thing was metal shipping containers,
oh, Connexes.
connexes.
Yeah.
Did we adequately consider their use and placement within the R zones? We've been permitting them in the commercial B1 and B2 zones based on the approval of a conditional use permit for certain types of uses. My gosh, I'm seeing
I personally don't think they belong in the R zone.
Yeah, well, how about for during construction of a home for storage, for
Right.
temporary, and then before the certificate of occupancy? I know we talked about,
We did. We did talk about it. I don't think that those words are in here in this section. But yeah,
we added it to the definitions, didn't we?
we did. Those definitions have been approved and are awaiting the, this particular roofing and metal fasteners at council.
Yeah, I have a copy of it here.
Yeah. We're waiting,
All of it to be done.
all of it to be done. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Here's where I got in, when I'm backing up here, I just caught this, what I was thinking about, is we talked about, the allowance of metal siding on non-accessory structures and accessory structures under 200 square feet
Yes.
without the 50% rule. And then in 1751-15, non-accessory structures, the exterior wall surface of non-accessory structure sheds shall be constructed of, in red, non-metallic, wood-like appearance, wood, vinyl, and or resin.
Yes.
Is that not, it seems like a conflict in my mind. That we're allowing it in the 1750-210
Okay.
J, and then we're prohibiting it in E of 1751-15.
Non-metallic wood-like appearance, wood, vinyl, and resin.
Yes. Does that seem like a conflict to you guys? Accessory sheds. So those are, when we talk about that, we're talking about a vacant lot.
Non-metallic wood-like appearance, wood, vinyl, and or resin.
But in J1, we say is permitted for outbuildings, unpermitted structures less than 200 square feet. Permitted canopies, carports, others, and permitted accessory. We don't talk about non-accessory structures in that code. We
No,
don't talk about non-accessory structures again in any of the siding part of 1752-10. It doesn't come up again until we get into 1751-50. We're treating accessory structures differently than we are treating non-accessory structures. Is that okay? I feel like the siding and roofing should be the same for both of those kind of structures. Because at some point, well, you shouldn't ever go from having an accessory structure to it turning into a non-accessory.
non-accessory stuff.
Unless the house burns down, you rebuild or something.
Right.
That would be a legal non-conforming.
Well, we don't want to have anything that's going to confuse you with trying to do your job. So non-accessory sheds shall be constructed of non-metallic wood, like appearance, wood, vinyl, and or resin. And then, like you said, the accessory in J1. Architectural ribbon metal siding is permitted for outbuildings, unpermitted structures less than 200 square feet, permitted canopies, carports, boat covers over 200 square feet, and permitted accessory structures.
Would it be better to strike E from 1750-115 and not talk about exterior wall surfaces of the non-accessory and then just, and then include in the language of J, accessory and non-accessory structures? Is that the cleanest way to do it, and put all of the siding and roofing stuff in one spot?
That makes sense. Just so it's consistent.
So do you guys need to condition your vote based on that change?
Well,
Can you do that? I mean, is that a
we could, or we could just wait and
rewrite it and then
And
and
then
then
bring
bring
it
it
back
back?
next time and revote.
And I'm okay either way. I just know, I don't want to feel like I'm delaying the process. And people talk about how long it takes government to get stuff done. And I feel like, the more I look at things, it's like I'm part of that problem, but it saves me time after we've written the law in enforcing it.
Yeah, I think that's important, that there's no conflict going forward, no matter how long it takes.
That's most of my whole purpose for even being at the table is, and
Like I said earlier, you want it in black and white, so we're all on the same page and we all interpret it the same.
it's clear to the public too, easy
Yeah.
for them to interpret.
Right.
So, okay, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, done. Okay, any reports, commissioners, any reports at all today? I've got a couple of updates. We did, pass the wiring methods and materials and send it on forward, and more research is being done on that. The awnings, canopies, and intermodal shipping containers or the connexes that we just briefly discussed has been passed and is waiting us finishing up the fasteners so that they can be submitted to council together. Sign recommendations that we came up with some time ago was presented last council. Very spirited discussion, and it's now in the hands of legal to provide feedback back to council on what they're going to do with the sign recommendation that we presented. So, and it hasn't come back from legal yet, so. Okay. Public communication, gentlemen, anything? No. Ladies, anything from afar? Vita? Nicole, can you make sure Vita can talk?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jane, you got anything for us?
Nope, have a good afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 at 2 p.m. here in the Ocean Shores Library Meeting Room. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 2:34.